Focus on yourself. But people hear this and immediately think it means selfishness. It doesn't. It simply means before you try to fix the world, fix the one place you actually have access to, your own mind. You want success, respect, love, clarity, peace. But have you ever asked whether you yourself are ready to hold these things? We keep chasing outcomes. A better job, a better relationship, a better future. But the chaser is never questioned. The chaser is restless, confused, half awake. How can a confused mind create a clear life? How can a fearful mind create a fearless future? You want people to value you, but do value yourself enough to work on your inner world. You want loyalty, but are you loyal to your own growth? You want opportunities, but do you even prepare yourself to be worthy of them? The truth is simple. Nothing outside you will stay consistent if you are inconsistent within. People come and go. Situations rise and fall. What remains is you. If you are weak, everything feels heavy. If you are strong, everything becomes manageable. Look at your daily life. How much of your time goes into worrying about others, what they think, what they say, how they behave, and how much time goes into understanding your own patterns, why you react, why you desire, why you fear. We invest so much energy polishing the world and so little energy polishing ourselves. When you focus on yourself, you are not abandoning others. You are becoming someone who can genuinely contribute. When you fix your inner noise, your relationships become smoother. When you build discipline, your career grows naturally. When you understand yourself, you stop begging for validation. When you act from clarity, the right people and opportunities align effortlessly. Life has a strange way of arranging itself around a person who is centered. When you stop chasing, things start approaching. When you stop proving, respect arrives silently. When you stop seeking love, you become capable of giving love. And that attracts real love back to you. But this requires honesty. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind. Sit with yourself. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Where am I lacking? What am I avoiding? What habits are destroying me? What truth am I afraid to acknowledge? If you can face these questions, life will reward you more than any motivation video or inspirational quote ever could. Focus on the inner engineer, not the outer machine. Upgrade the operator and the operations will naturally improve. Strengthen the roots and the fruits will come on their own. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop expecting others to rescue you. Stop waiting for the right time. You are the time. You are the turning point. You are the beginning. Work on your mind. Work on your discipline. Work on your clarity. Work on your inner freedom. Focus on yourself. And watch how quietly, how beautifully everything else begins to follow. Inner clarity creates outer success, but most people hear this as a poetic line, not a practical truth. They keep believing that success is something that arrives from the world, through luck, through people, through a miracle, through some external push. They rarely stop and examine the actual engine that drives their entire life, their own mind. Every choice, every relationship, every opportunity, every mistake, all of it comes from the quality of the mind making decisions. If the mind is scattered, afraid, confused, or noisy, then no matter how perfect the situation outside is, it will still produce chaos. And if the mind is clear, centered, and honest, even imperfect situations can be transformed into meaningful progress. That is why inner clarity is not something optional. It is the foundation on which outer success quietly rests. People spend years polishing their resumes, their bodies, their social image, their connections, but very little time polishing their thoughts. They want success without understanding themselves. They want recognition without recognizing their own patterns. They want peace without cleaning the dust inside them. Look closely. Whenever you have made a poor decision, was it because the world failed you or because your own confusion guided you to the wrong place? Whenever you have missed a good opportunity, was it because the opportunity was too small or because your fear, doubt, or laziness was too large? The world is not blocking you as often as your unclear mind is. Clarity is not magical. It is not mystical. It is simply the ability to see things as they are, without ego, without fear, without wishful thinking. And when you can see life clearly, your actions become sharp, your words become meaningful, your efforts become intentional. You stop wasting energy on unnecessary fights, unnecessary comparisons, unnecessary drama. Suddenly, you have more power, more focus, more time. You become someone who knows what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. That alone places you ahead of most people. Think about the times you felt stuck. It wasn't because you lacked talent. It wasn't because you lacked conditions. It was because you lacked direction. Talent without direction is wasted. Opportunities without clarity are missed. Hard work without understanding becomes exhaustion. Clarity is the force that turns potential into progress. It is like turning a blurry lens into a sharp one. Nothing changes outside, yet everything becomes easier to navigate. When you gain clarity, your relationships change too. You stop expecting people to complete you, entertain you, or constantly approve you. Instead, you see who genuinely supports your growth and who drains your energy. You stop clinging to people out of insecurity. You stop running away from people out of fear. You interact with maturity because you are not trying to fill an emotional void through others. You are already centered within yourself. This creates healthier, deeper, and more stable connections without drama. Outer success begins to form naturally around a clear person because clarity brings consistency. Most people fail not because they lack skill, but because they are inconsistent. They try something for 2 days and quit. They set goals but never investigate why they fail to follow through. They rely on motivation instead of understanding. But a clear mind does not need constant pushing. It knows the direction and it moves with discipline even when no one is watching. Such a person becomes reliable, trustworthy, and effective in whatever they pursue. And the world rewards reliability far more than raw talent. Clarity also dissolves comparison. The moment you understand yourself, you no longer measure your life with someone else's success or timeline. You realize how different your path is from theirs. You stop feeling jealous, insecure, or inferior. Instead, you remain grounded. A clear mind does not chase validation. It does not need applause to feel worthy. It simply keeps improving itself. And ironically, such a person ends up achieving far more than the one who constantly seeks approval. When you stop looking sideways and start looking inward, your growth accelerates naturally. Inner clarity removes fear too. Fear thrives in confusion. When you don't understand a situation, the mind fills the gaps with worst-case scenarios. But when you see things plainly, the unnecessary fear melts away. You recognize which fears are imaginary and which ones need action. You stop overthinking and start acting. You stop worrying about what might go wrong and focus on what needs to be done. Fear cannot control a mind that sees reality with sharpness. The most powerful effect of clarity is that it simplifies life. You begin to know what truly matters and what does not. You stop chasing 10 things at once. You stop saying yes to everything. You stop trying to impress people who add no value to your life. You become selective with your time, attention, and energy. You begin to protect your peace the same way you protect your money. A clear person is not stingy with kindness, but is disciplined with their focus. They don't allow every distraction to enter their life. They don't allow every emotion to sway their mind. This level of inner order creates outer progress without force. Imagine a river. When it is muddy, you cannot see the stones beneath. You cannot measure its depth. You cannot judge its direction. It becomes dangerous. But when the water becomes clear, everything underneath becomes visible. The same river becomes usable, predictable, beautiful, useful. The river has not changed. Its clarity has. That is exactly how your life works. You don't need to change the entire world. You just need to clean the inner water through self-awareness, discipline, reflection, and honest questioning. Outer success follows clarity because clarity brings purpose. Most people want success but cannot even define what success means to them. They take goals from society, from family, from media. They chase things they don't even deeply want. That is why, even after achieving something, they still feel empty. Clarity forces you to ask, what actually matters to me? What kind of life do I want to build? What values do I refuse to compromise? When you answer these questions honestly, your goals become meaningful. And when goals are meaningful, commitment becomes natural. Life becomes peaceful when the inner world is organized. Life becomes powerful when the inner world is strengthened. Life becomes successful when the inner world is clear. You do not need to force outer achievements when you have inner clarity. They come as a natural outcome because your actions become aligned, your decisions become wise, and your focus becomes unshakable. So work on your mind. Clean your perceptions, question your patterns, sharpen your understanding. Because the moment your inner world becomes clear, the outer world starts responding in ways you never imagined. The moment you see yourself clearly, the path ahead appears clearly. And when the path is clear, success is not a chase. It is simply a direction. You start walking with confidence and ease. Stop chasing outcomes, strengthen the self. These words sound simple, but they carry the weight of an entire life's transformation. Most people spend their entire lives running behind results, money, relationships, status, validation, opportunities, without ever asking the basic question, who is doing the chasing? They exhaust themselves chasing shadows while neglecting the very mind that is creating those desires, those fears, those ambitions. When you keep polishing the outside but ignore the inside, your life becomes a never ending cycle of running and collapsing, running and collapsing. The problem was never the distance of the goal, the problem was always the strength of the runner. If the self is weak, confused, undisciplined, or desperate, then even small challenges feel like mountains. Even small failures feel unbearable. Even small delays feel like personal attacks. And when the self is strong, centered, and steady, even huge challenges become manageable, even great losses become lessons, and even long delays feel meaningful. This is why strengthening the self matters more than chasing the outcome. Think of how people behave when they desperately chase something outside themselves. Someone chases money and loses peace. Someone chases love and loses dignity. Someone chases approval and loses authenticity. Someone chases success and loses their mental balance. The chase becomes so intense that they forget to ask, am I even ready for what I am running after? If the cup is cracked, no amount of water will stay inside. And yet people pray for more water instead of repairing the cup. Bigger opportunities but not bigger capacity. They want greater results but not greater focus. They want impressive achievements but not impressive discipline. They want life to give them everything, while they give nothing to their own inner growth. A weak self turns even blessings into burdens. A strong self turns even obstacles into fuel. That is the difference. Strengthening the self does not mean becoming aggressive, loud, egoistic, or dominant. It means becoming stable from within. It means understanding your patterns, why you react the way you do, why you get jealous, why you procrastinate, why you fear judgment, why you get attached, why you sabotage yourself. When these internal knots remain untouched, you can chase all you want, but life will keep dragging you back to the same point again and again. Look at the people who keep repeating the same mistakes in relationships, in jobs, in habits. The partner changes, the workplace changes, the environment changes, but the same issues return. Why? Because they keep changing everything except the one thing that actually makes a difference: themselves. You cannot outrun your own patterns. You cannot hide from your own mind. Wherever you go, you take your inner self with you. That is why chasing external solutions never works. The real work is done within. Strengthening the self begins with awareness. You must watch yourself like a calm observer. How do you behave when things don't go your way? What triggers you? What makes you insecure? What makes you lose control? What makes you withdraw? What makes you pretend? Most of your suffering does not come from the world, it comes from how you process the world. The same situation can break one person and build another. What makes the difference is not the situation but the self encountering it. Once awareness grows, honesty must follow. You cannot strengthen the self by lying to yourself. You cannot grow by avoiding painful truths. You cannot change by clinging to excuses. Most people avoid inner work because it demands responsibility. It forces you to see that the biggest enemy you have been running from might be sitting inside your own mind. But once you accept this truth, you stop wasting energy blaming others. You stop waiting for someone else to solve your life. You stop expecting the world to adjust itself for you. You begin the only journey that actually works, the journey inward. And when the self strengthens, the chase slows down naturally. Not because you lose ambition, but because you gain clarity. You stop running blindly. You start walking purposefully. You stop trying to control everything outside. You start controlling your own responses. You stop obsessing over results. You start improving your effort. You stop begging for shortcuts. You start investing in discipline. Suddenly, life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like a direction. A strong self does not rely on motivation because it has commitment. It does not rely on luck because it has consistency. It does not rely on perfect conditions because it can adapt. It does not rely on validation because it has self-respect. When you build this kind of inner strength, outcomes begin to follow you without force. You stop chasing love and stable relationships find you. You stop chasing money and opportunities open because of your focus. You stop chasing happiness and peace appears because your mind is not chaotic. You stop chasing success and progress becomes natural because you are disciplined. Chasing outcomes is exhausting because outcomes are unpredictable. They depend on timing, people, circumstances, and variables you cannot control. But strengthening the self is always in your control. And when the inner world is organized, the outer world becomes much easier to navigate. There is also a deeper truth here. When you chase something intensely, your chase itself becomes proof that you feel incomplete. A mind that feels incomplete will cling, depend, and rush. Such a mind will naturally attract more confusion and disappointment. But when you strengthen the self, you stop seeking completion from the world. You become stable in who you are. And stability is powerful. Stability is magnetic. It makes you someone who does not run behind anything, but someone around whom things start aligning. Strengthening the self requires patience, discipline, and introspection. It means learning to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. It means working on your habits instead of explaining them away. It means training your attention instead of allowing distractions to rule you. It means choosing long-term growth over short-term pleasure. These are not glamorous processes, but they build a foundation that cannot be shaken. If you chase outcomes without strengthening yourself, even if you achieve those outcomes, you will not be able to sustain them. You may get into a relationship, but you won't be able to maintain emotional balance within it. You may get a good job, but you won't have the consistency to grow in it. You may earn money, but you won't have the clarity to manage it. Outer achievement without inner strength collapses eventually, but when you strengthen the self first, outcomes not only arrive, they stay. Because you are capable of holding them, you are capable of growing them, you are capable of handling the responsibility that comes with them. The foundation inside you is strong enough to support the weight of success. So stop chasing, stop running behind things that your inner unreadiness is silently pushing away. Turn inward, build clarity, discipline, emotional strength, and maturity. And once you strengthen the self, the outcomes that once ran away from you will start moving toward you. You don't need to chase the world when you yourself become someone worth following. Focusing on yourself is not selfishness, but most people misunderstand this deeply. They think that giving time to themselves means ignoring others, becoming cold, or becoming self-centered. But the truth is the opposite. When you do not focus on yourself, when you do not understand your own mind, when you do not free yourself from your inner conflicts, then you become a burden on others without even realizing it. You expect people to heal you, fix you, guide you, validate you, and constantly reassure you. And when they cannot, you call them disloyal or unloving. But they weren't the problem. The problem was that you were demanding from others what you should have first given to yourself. A person who never works on themselves becomes emotionally heavy. They react unnecessarily, misunderstand easily, and depend excessively. They get offended quickly, take things personally, and constantly look for signs of betrayal. Without inner stability, even simple interactions become stressful. Without inner clarity, even good relationships turn into battles. Without inner maturity, even small disappointments feel like tragedy. And then the person says, life is unfair or people are untrustworthy. The truth is simpler. When the self is weak, everything feels threatening. Self-focus removes this inner poverty. It fills the gaps that you keep trying to fill externally. Once you begin to understand yourself, your relationships automatically become lighter, healthier, and more honest. Not because the other person changed, but because you changed. When you are emotionally stable, you don't need others to constantly reassure you. When you are confident, you don't rely on external validation. When you are self-aware, you don't misunderstand every little thing. When you are disciplined, you stop expecting others to compensate for your laziness. When you are content within, you don't use people as escape routes from your own mind. Success also follows naturally when you focus on yourself. Most people chase money, status, and opportunity, but they do not upgrade the inner qualities required to maintain those things. They want growth without building the discipline that growth demands. They want recognition without becoming worthy of recognition. They want comfort without developing the strength to survive discomfort. This is why their progress breaks easily. They keep looking outward, hoping the world will give something magical, while they continue ignoring the one place where the real shift actually happens themselves. When you work on yourself, you break this cycle. Your habits sharpen. Your mind becomes disciplined. Your fears reduce. Your clarity increases. When these inner changes happen, you no longer need to chase external results aggressively. Your work becomes better, your decisions improve, your consistency grows, and the world starts responding. Opportunities open, people trust you more. You become someone who delivers, someone who grows, someone who is reliable. Not because you begged for success, but because you became the type of person success not to. Riley moves toward people think self focus means isolation. It doesn't. It simply means knowing where to start. Look at a plant. If you water the leaves, nothing happens. The plant will still die. But if you water the roots, the entire plant flourishes. Leaves, flowers, everything. Focusing on yourself is watering your roots. It is the most generous thing you can do for the people around you because it frees them from carrying the weight of your unhealed mind. When you focus on yourself, you stop overreacting. You stop projecting old wounds on new situations. You stop expecting others to complete you. You stop blaming circumstances for every setback. You stop creating drama out of fear or insecurity. You become someone who brings stability instead of chaos. This transforms your relationships more than any grand gesture or forced compromise ever could. And the beauty is, when you truly focus on yourself, you don't even need to tell people. They feel it. They experience a different version of you, calmer, wiser, less reactive, more present. They feel safer around you because they know you won't explode over small things. They feel supported because you are no longer emotionally draining. They feel respected because you don't cling or manipulate. A person who has worked on themselves becomes easy to be around. They become a source of strength, not stress. Focusing on yourself also teaches you to let go. When you understand your own mind, you understand your limits, your responsibilities, and your own patterns. You stop forcing connections that no longer serve your growth. You stop holding on to situations that drain you. You stop fighting battles that do not belong to you. You stop making emotional decisions that sabotage your life. This inner strength prevents unnecessary suffering and helps you walk away from what is unhealthy without guilt or resentment. There is another deep truth: people treat you the way you treat yourself. If you do not respect your own boundaries, no one will. If you do not value your time, no one else will. If you do not work on your growth, people will not take you seriously. If you do not speak to yourself with kindness, you will accept disrespect from others as normal. Self-focus teaches the world how to treat you by first teaching you how to treat yourself. When you carry dignity, people recognize it. When you walk with confidence, people trust your presence. When you have clarity, people naturally follow your direction, not because you ask for respect, but because you became someone who earns it through inner work. Focusing on yourself also removes the biggest source of suffering: comparison. When you know who you are, you stop measuring your worth with someone else's progress. You stop feeling jealous of others' success. You stop feeling insecure about someone else's beauty, intelligence, or achievements. You realize that every person has a different journey, different challenges, different timing. You remain grounded in your own path. Envy disappears, gratitude grows, competition fades, authenticity rises. You start celebrating others without feeling inferior. This inner freedom creates peace that no external achievement can replace. When you focus on yourself, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your environment changes. You attract better opportunities because your mind is prepared. You attract better people because your heart is stable. You attract better situations because your decisions are wiser. Nothing mystical, simply the result of inner alignment. The external world mirrors the internal world. A calm mind attracts clarity. A disciplined mind attracts success. A loving mind attracts healthy relationships. A confident mind attracts respect. A focused mind attracts opportun. E.t. This is why self-focus is not selfish, it is strategic, it is wise, it is necessary. Self-focus is how you prepare your inner world for everything you want in the outer world. The more you understand yourself, the less chaotic your life becomes. The more you grow internally, the less dependent you become on external circumstances. In the end, the one relationship that shapes your entire life is your relationship with yourself. If that relationship is weak, confused, or neglected, everything else becomes unstable. Your work, your love life, your decisions, your mental peace. But when that relationship becomes strong, honest, and nurturing, everything else begins to rise with it. Focusing on yourself is not turning away from the world. It is preparing yourself so you can face the world with clarity, strength, and maturity. It is the foundation of a peaceful life, successful work, and meaningful relationships. When you grow, everything connected to you grows. When you heal, everything around you heals. When you rise, your entire world rises with you. Focus on yourself, not because the world does not matter, but because you are the starting point of everything you experience. And when you build yourself, life naturally follows.